Welcome to the new episode of the French Bishop podcast. Today here I'm joined by Master Sturgeon, aka John MacArthur. Today we're going to finally catch up with all the news of, well, the month or 2 months. I don't know how long it's been, but I know it's been a long time and there's a lot of news to go over. John, how are you going today?
Excellent, Rogan. Excellent. I've been watching your stream on occasion while working in the background in the morning when I set up mine. I did notice that both of us had fallen off a little bit of our regular streaming schedule. Mine was due to technical difficulties with my microphone, and at one point I had Streamlabs not even firing up. It was crashing on startup, and it also had to do with an audio driver not being updated. So once I updated all of my audio drivers, it was great for Streamlabs, but then causing other audio problems.
Yeah.
This was like one hand, slapping the other.
Yep. Curse Bill Gates. We understand. Don't worry. Okay. So the first and most important news of, well, I mean, the last few weeks has definitely been Hikaru and Kramnik are basically at each other's throat for reasons known but still weird. For context, ladies and gentlemen, where's that article gone to?
Nakamura won 43 straight games in a statistical anomaly and got like 45.5 points out of 46 in his most recent games in the title Tuesday, I believe it was.
Yes, and then I believe on chess.com or chess.com and Twitter, he decided to put that out there, thinking with pretty much saying that people should find this interesting. And as we know, titled players, when they think someone's cheating, they say their moves are interesting, and that's okay. I mean, that's a good way of just putting it out there. But what Kramnik decided was Mr. Nakamura, one of the best chess players in the world and one of the best online chess players in the world, he's obviously cheating. He's played better than he should. Now,
as you've mentioned, mentioned, he's one of the best players in the world, and he grew up playing online. He's got a feel for pre-moves that Kramnik doesn't.
I mean, for context, I mean, he cryptically claimed that the series of victories was suspicious and merited closer examination. And of course, Hikaru denied this, telling his platform of 2.2 million YouTube subscribers that it was all bogus. I'm willing to agree just off the face of it. I like evidence I like actual evidence, not just badly understood, statistical analysis. Okay. But another sub news to this, Professor Kenneth Regan, who's a computer scientist, he was also very, very, very much involved with the Hans Niemann cheating controversy or not controversy or whatever you want to look at it. He's reviewed the games and found Nakamura's results well within the likely statistical range for a player of his caliber. And then this is a quote by Professor Regan, that the victories could be explained by the US players' high risks of play. Okay, we're really screwing this one up, John. I think
that's all right. The people love to hear that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But on average, Hikaru grew up playing online, as you said. He's had a 3,000 rating before other players were supposed to have 3,000 ratings online back in the chessclub.com ICC days, and he also has an incredible will to compete. And one thing that the statistics and the general overall observation of someone's play, you can't rate willpower, mindset, determination, and of course fatigue on the part of others who have to deal with you when you're in that state, that emotional state where you got to get the job done.
Yeah, not just when he's in that
and
state,
they're playing against you. They're in the way.
It doesn't matter what state he is. He's Hikaru. There's gonna be that shock factor because, well, he's basically the skull and crossbones flag of the chess world. You got problems if you're facing him, and that definitely could account for at least 2% of anything. I mean, and not only should you not rely on linear statistical analysis to treat an outlier which Hikaru is, it's not even well and analyzed statistics here. Kramnik has basically said he won this much, and I think he shouldn't have. I mean, I'm not even sure he cited anybody in saying that. I could be wrong. I mean, last time I checked, Kramnik may not be a statistical data scientist, because the people who are saying Hikaru only played 2% better than he should have. And I'm saying, well, if it's only 2% better, I'll wait till he's really fired up, you know?
Indeed, yeah. And Kramnik is, of course, looking to stir up trouble, I think. I don't necessarily know if he's playing the Gotham chess game where he's taking advantage of the situation he finds this interesting statistic and he decides to throw some wood on the fire and get everybody all stoked again.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why he would do that, though. I don't think he has any skin in the YouTube game. I'm not even sure he's on YouTube. Which is like, I mean, if he is, he's doing a very poor job of giving his side of anything, of life, anything. I've never seen one of his videos. I haven't looked up whether he's on YouTube. Like for a former world champion, if he's trying to get something out of this, he's not doing a very good job. And it's like walking into a 7-Eleven while rambling. That's all get me notoriety. I'll be on the news.
Yeah.
I mean,
and as I told my students the other day, when you see someone outside the school on the street that looks strange and might be talking to themselves, I said, you don't make eye contact with the person and you don't engage them in conversation. You just sort of like look away and keep on going and mind your own business. Yeah, and Kramnik's been engaged so far by all these people, and we're just encouraging him.
So this is why I actually believe that Kramnik is just stupid. I mean, for a formal, I'll give him that. He's a great chess player, amazing chess player.
Let's rephrase it. He's ignorant of the abilities of people to be able to play higher level chess faster.
No, I don't think we're giving him enough credit here. I mean, I think the guy's just dumb. I think the guy is incredibly smart in one facet of life, and that's chess. And I think that once, that he's mixed other elements, he's mixed statistical data with the fact that he's a stubborn older fella who's a hammer, and he's looking for a nail, and he found a nail, and he's too stubborn to give up on that nail. And he knows one thing, and he knows that's chess, and he thinks this is purely a chess thing, and he's gone and got himself into trying to use statistics. He's inadvertently bending statistics, and I don't think he wants to give up on this. And the reason I think he's just stupid is because I don't think he's got anything to gain from it. I don't think he's got a YouTube. I don't think I didn't know he was on Twitter. Like, I mean, I did, but I didn't. Like, I forget about it, then I re-know about it. Like, so that's why I think that he's just found something, he's fixated upon it, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. And he's probably going to start suddenly realizing that he's completely wrong, and he's going to go, shit, do I double down or do I just slowly go out into the night? I mean, I don't know what he gets from it other than the fact he's opinionated, and he's like me, stubborn as hell, and won't give up.
Yeah, I don't understand his motivation for trying to beat this, other than the fact that he's become the bitter old grandmaster who is no longer as fast or as on top of the world as he once was. I know that the other day I was thinking about it, actually, because I knew Grandmaster Bill Lombardi, who was a second to Bobby Fischer. That's, everybody has these 6 degrees of separation, and he was a second to Bobby Fischer in the 1972 World Championship match. And all this stuff sort of came back together for me as I visited Reykjavik since our previous podcast, perhaps for my anniversary. And I went to the Bobby Fischer Center, and I talked about all the stories of Fischer from the old days. And Fischer also became that bitter player who believed that Karpov and Kasparov were orchestrating their matches, and that they had prearranged all of the moves of every game, and that he was the one true world champion, and he was just bitter that he wasn't there anymore. And Grandmaster Bill Lombardi grew up. He had some amazing performances in his lifetime. He went 11-0 in the World Student Team Championship in the 1950s. But he and many other grandmasters who are also old and bitter all have to live in the shadow of Bobby Fischer. It's like, A, you're never going to become U.S. champion while he's around. B, your chances of being the number one U.S. player getting invited to tournaments are nil. And C, no one's going to become world champion while Fischer's around either. And now everyone had the same problem with Kramnik to a certain extent when he was leading the world between Garry Kasparov until he lost his title to Anand in Bonn in 2008. And everybody lived under the shadow of Magnus Carlsen. And Magnus Carlsen gracefully just pulled himself out of the race and made the chess world a little bit more of an exciting place because now other people can actually dream of becoming.
We didn't know it at the time, did we? There's a lot of pushback on that. I mean, rightfully so, a little bit too. But no, he really did give us a gift, whether or not it's the best gift we could have, But we've got competitiveness, and the top thing, we're seeing new players, new styles, new things to talk about. I mean, definitely amazing, right? And the reason I think this is another reason I think this is a little bit general stupidity and just like very vague anger suddenly coalescing into one issue is because this has happened before. Like every 5 minutes, something happens in some cash tournament online where that's being streamed on chess.com, where Kramnik gets to like, I don't know, the fourth round. There's like maybe 7 rounds, and he's just getting smoked. He starts getting smoked by these people like Vincent Kramer. Like, I mean, he had a real big thing against no increment or something back in the day because he was winning a game series with Vincent Kramer to get some sort of prize money or something. And then he just started getting smoked on the clock because he's getting into time trouble. And then there's other instances of this that I remember but can't really, cite because I'm not that good. But, where this just happened. So I think there's a general anger there that suddenly turned into that where one day he was like, fuck it, I think this is happening. And they didn't think it through that much. But he went through with it. Now he's got to either double down or go into the void quietly.
And he's not willing to do that. He's definitely thinking that his opinion is worth something.
I mean, it is worth something, but it's not.
Yeah,
he's misusing
in the cheating world. I mean, he's managed to jump on the cheating scandal of Hans Niemann and the chess.com community struggling, and he managed to jump on it at the right time and try to put his own expertise into it as an objective chess coach, in theory, an objective chess coach, without any knowledge of how motivation works and mindset works. Recently, in an offer spiel online league event, it was a bullet event where you earn certain prizes and you earn certain achievements, and they are added up in terms of points toward an overall league standing. And one of the requirements was that I get 50 points in one tournament, achieve 50 arena points in one tournament. For a player of my stature or anybody else of my nature, playing slowly in general, I'm never going to reach 50 points. And I was struggling along in this bullet event, and I remember I think I'd lost 5 or 6 games in a row, and I screwed my head on straight. I was streaming the event, and I said to myself, John, it's time you effing get back in gear and play like the 2250 player you once were. And in order to become 2250, you actually have to play like a 2300 or 2350. You can't get to 2250 by playing like you're a 2190. You actually have to play above the rating of the rating you hope to achieve. You can't set a bullet challenge of reaching 2500 and play like a 2490. You have to actually play like a 2700 if you want to reach your 2500 goal. So I did, and then I achieved, like, I beat a 2500 player 3 times in 4 games at the last half hour. And suddenly I realized I achieved my 50-point arena tournament goal because I won so many games in a row. And prior to that, I'd been mission mashing nowhere here and nowhere there, but mindset and determination and a constant mantra of screwing my head on straight and doing what's right and playing the right move. And it was a bullet event, so I'm old and slow. I'm not supposed to be winning these bullet games. It's not happening. And of course, if Kramnik looked at my performance from that tournament, and if I hadn't been streaming it and explaining everything that I was doing, I'm sure that, I'd be banned instantly, because I really turned on a second level of a second gear. Now, you can't account for that by rating, mindset,
no, you can't.
motivation.
Even more so when it's Hikaru. I mean, he's literally an statistical outlier. It's like saying,
he's turning it on. Imagine what he's doing.
So, Kramnik, what you're saying is you're getting statistical outlying statistics from a statistical outlier. Let me get this straight,
and then you put it out here for people to assume something that could be the worst.
Look, I mean, I've got nothing wrong with Kramnik. I'm getting more paranoid about chess cheating every day. I mean, the moment you stream on chess.com, you're getting, you're basically asking to be shanked by a 12-year-old with an engine. I mean, it's, I respect them for shanking everybody who has even the slightest chance of being right. But, then he went after Hikaru, and it was a little bit, okay, buddy, you just hitting everything, aren't you? You just... you didn't really come in here with targets, did you? You came in here with a shotgun and just started started
everybody down.
Yeah, this is.
And meanwhile, as we can probably segue toward Hans Niemann's most recent amazing achievement and the resurgence of his cheating allegations, because in the Tournament of Peace held in he posted a picture of himself playing in the Baltic countries of Yugoslavia, the Tournament of Peace. He won the tournament by 3 points with a nearly 3,000 performance rating. And then he posted a picture on Twitter equaling himself to Fischer, having won a tournament in Yugoslavia by several points 50 plus years earlier. And he's got this arrogance to him. But ironically, according to another participant, there were no anti-cheating measures put into place for any of the participants in that tournament. So therefore, by correlation, his performance above and beyond puts him at risk of having gamed the system. And honestly, I feel like if I'm not having some metal detector shoved up my butt every time I go to the board, and I've been shat on by everyone in the chess community, high and low and near and far, I think I would actually feel a little bit of relief to be able to just play my game the way I've always played my game, without having to have this air of black cloud of suspicion over me. And now, of course, it has to loom again.
Well, I mean, I think with Hans, I think there may be a little bit of this. It might not be. There might be a little bit of this emotional math here. People hate me anyway. People who love me probably aren't going to change their opinion. People who hate me, I can just piss them off every 5 minutes. Who do they love? Bobby Fischer. Who can I post a picture of comparing myself to? Bobby Fischer. I mean, goodness me. And do I believe I'm getting better? Yeah, I mean that must play into it. Surely, if I was Hans, I felt like I was gaining. I felt like I'm gaining strength, and I definitely would be going. I'd definitely just I'd do it for me. I'd do it to piss them off. It's all that. Yeah. I think there probably should be some anti-cheating measures, of course, but I mean, at some point you've just got to let the guy be. If you can't prove anything, and you don't want to specifically put anti-cheating measures in just for him, which would be a little bit discriminatory, then you've just got to deal with the fact.
Yeah, no, he even took a poke at Caruana by saying that he was going to be the first American to challenge for the World Chess Championship, completely forgetting that Caruana played Carlsen just about 5 years ago.
I mean,
and what can you do?
The first American to what?
Yeah, he said basically he will be the first American to challenge for the World Championship since Fischer.
All right,
he forgot completely about Caruana having done the feat.
I mean, this may sound ignorant, but I'm sure at some point I knew this. But isn't Caruana born in another country?
That is true, but he is considered an American because he spent most
he's
of his life here.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just poking him. Oh, you're not really American, are you, buddy? Hey, buddy. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think he was pulling the Trump-Obama card, trying to say that the birth certificate doesn't make him American.
Yeah.
But
Barack Hussein Obama, worst president ever.
that's pretty good, Rogan.
I don't. Yeah, I
You might
don't
have
think.
more room for that.
Yeah, I mean,
All we need
I'm
now
not.
is
I'm
to
not
be
as good
working
as.
pretty soon.
We'll keep working on it. It's hard to get a Trump. It's really is. I mean, the only
But
thing you can
obviously
really
this,
get is the mannerisms.
and this hasn't helped Hans's personality, as he's become a little bit
know.
more of a jerk in a sense because of how he's been treated. I mean, he might have been a little bit arrogant as a young up and coming player, but now it's an arrogant, obnoxious, brash person out to bent on a war rampage, trying to prove himself, and he's not necessarily winning friends and influencing people in the right way.
Yeah.
And as a result, he's throwing more gasoline on the situation sometimes.
I mean, it is at some points in life you just can't help the people who hate you. I mean, it's for like if I mean I'm sure like the surviving victims of the witch trials are pretty unhappy. Like I mean I'm pretty sure they got really pissed off. You know, they're like, oh gee, thanks. You know, I mean I feel really supported by this community. You know,
exactly.
If I was Hans, I mean, I give him a little leeway to be a bit angry. I mean, I'm not, you know, you're not going to win any souls from the people who think that you're a complete scumbag who decided to cheat a world champion and a game worth money. I mean, it's, you know, if I was like, well, if you can't beat him and win him over, then I'm going to join the dark side, poke him every now and again. And why not? Why not be a little bit arrogant? You know, I might as well get some personal brand out of this whole ordeal. That's, you know, I'd be playing that up. I'd be getting every sponsorship from every dildo company in the world. I mean, I'd be like, guess what? I can make money from it. You know,
and there are people making money off of Hans as well. You know, you have Gotham producing a video every 3 to 4 minutes. He's got another idea for a Hans Niemann game recap and game analysis and statistical, you know, proof that something may be afoot. And I don't blame him. It also lends itself back to the bitter old grandmaster as Bill Lombardi had to live under Fischer. Basically, Fischer believed that everyone was making money off of him. In fact, I think some of my YouTube videos where I do a Fischer game, guess what? They get more views thanks to Bobby Fischer. He's not even alive, and I'm benefiting from Bobby Fischer.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean, he did actually actively try and benefit chess players. I mean, he was very adamant about pay in chess. I mean, he probably wouldn't even be mad that people. He's probably just stating facts as he sees them. He's probably not even mad that people are making money off him. He's like, people are making money off me. I mean, I'm trying to get people. Yeah,
I'm sure he wanted to cut.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he wanted to, but I'm sure
there's no way to enforce it legally, obviously, because the games are public.
We can't talk about you. That sounds very, very unconstitutional, there, Bobby. I mean.
No, he was correct in many ways. In fact, he reneged on so many contracts and kept his book from being, you know, it's like there's still problems with trying to do some of his material because of the legalese that he had put in there. Yeah. So, you know, Fischer's 60 Memorable Games will not become so easily a chessable book because of the electronic nature restriction. Someone, Stuart Margulies, who had helped him do some other things. I think Bobby Fischer Teaches Chess should be on Chessable. And I think the legalese in there keeps it from being shared, used, and without Bobby's express permission.
I mean, that's a bit fucking hard to do now, isn't it?
It is. So therefore, it's just not possible to get permission to do it, and it's all tied up. So you're not going to be able to see those things on Chessable, although there may be a loophole somewhere because of his death. But on average, he was very aware that and in fact, the old nature of the game. I've played with some much older pool players. For example, one of the best pool players in the world, George Sensucci, would play in the local events, and he was a good friend and an inspiration. But he would rub people the wrong way, and he was a little bit brash when he was playing them. And I would go outside when he was taking a break from the match or right before he was about to play a player, and I'd find out what the line was from him, you know? And then I would go in and I'd place all these bets, giving games on the wire to people who were going to watch the match. He would win by 2 games. I would be giving 2 games. He would win by 2 games. And then I would give him a little bit of a cut.
So to the
And
state
that's
of
what
New
was
York, John
expected by
is
the old
not
generation.
admitting
If you make
to
money
match
from
fixing. John is not
betting against him, I just needed to know how much better he was than his opponent and what I thought I could give. And he knew the line. He knew the line that he had to beat when he was playing the match.
John,
So he would
you
go
colluded with one of the players to get information that would, affect the betting spread. That sounds like match fixing to me. But
I'm not sure how it works,
need to
but
tell.
for a casual game, it worked out pretty well. But he expected his cut. Like if I didn't share, 30 or whatever with him out of the percentage,
I'm not sure if that makes it
would
legally
probably
any
come
better.
to an end very quickly.
Arguably very much worse, but nobody needs to tell the state of New York that. Okay, or the feds or anyone really. But okay, so I mean, yeah, that is very, very true. I mean, there's a lot to mull over there. Honestly, it's hard to get into the mind of Kramnik because we don't know. But we have seen many controversies of the like where he does show similar behavior for very similar reasons. I mean,
absolutely.
Vague hatred of online and your ability to win online. I mean, don't blame him.
And his bitterness of not being a part of the current crop of, top stars to a certain extent. The bitterness is there. When Kramnik first saw, in fact, he lost the London Classic qualification spot to Anand. Anand goes on to beat, Carlsen, and the Carlsen goes on to beat Anand. And then Kramnik just calls him lucky, He's just lucky. He's just another grandmaster like the rest of us. This is not a big deal. It was a new in chess interview. Someone had asked me about this statement when I commented on it on Twitter, and I referenced them to a new in chess article / interview from the 2000 around after the 2013 match.
Yeah. That didn't
age well. Saying time will tell that Carlsen is just another grandmaster like the rest of us, and that he was just in the right place at the right time, and he was critically wrong.
He was in fact, he was the wrongest he could possibly be. And not only is he just wrong, he's as wrong as you couldn't get 1 degree more wrong. I mean, if you tried, okay.
Very sad. But we can move on to Caruana's banner year. He's been cleaning up this year. He won the U.S. Championship with a round to spare, and not to mention another previous tournament. And he's qualified several times over for the candidates tournament. And there was even a question being asked recently: which qualification spot do you think you will get for the candidates tournament? Because it does matter which qualification spot he gets, because that opens up the rest of the people's qualification spots.
It gives everyone else it's possible wild cards, But I mean, this probably does lead into your thoughts and my thoughts, honestly, that Caruana is the heir apparent to maybe the World Championship. I don't think Ding is nearly as strong as he needs to beat an on-form Caruana. And this is just the general thoughts of the chess community here. It's no high-level analysis by the 1600. I mean, let's be honest here. But
especially based on recent results, since Ding hasn't participated in hardly anything. He might have participated in something briefly after he won the World Championship. I don't know that he did. But he's been absent from the world chess scene since he won the World Championship.
Let's put Ding out of the question for a second. Who else has got that? I mean, there's Ian, of course, Ian, Mr. Nepo. I mean, I don't think he's got the balls to do it this time. I mean, I think he'll play pretty strong, but I think if Caruana retains form, he's going to edge him out. I mean, they both have World Championship experience, and Ian's World Championship experience does not seem to be the good championship experience. It seems to be the, oh my fucking God, not again experience. You know,
Right.
it's yeah,
Vidit and Prague are hot on his heels, but they haven't shown the skill
yeah,
level
yeah.
that's needed to reach the top
I mean,
just
we're
yet
looking for gaps.
consistently.
We're looking for gaps here. I think between the rest of the field and the rest. So who else? Who else is going to go there? I mean, barring Magnus somehow getting in there, which he won't. I mean, I very much
Right.
doubt he'll come back for this cycle. I mean,
Well, I believe Anish Giri has finally got a shot based on the standings at the end of the
true,
London Classic
very
slash St. Louis events that have just happened. And
possible dark horse. You think?
yeah, and I know Wesley So has pretty much fallen off. He's pretty much not even going to participate in the World Rapid Championship. He's actually announced that he's done for the year as far as playing chess. So therefore, I think whoever does manage to squeeze in, because it's a little bit unclear as the top rating spot, because we're waiting for Gukesh's final finishing performance in the London Classic. And the London Classic has been unfortunately quite a snooze fest. Like everyone is drawing, and like one person, if we're lucky,
Oh yeah,
might win a particular round.
conservative play. I mean,
It's
a lot
very
on the line.
conservative play. Gukesh is not leading. There's a huge contingent. The last I looked, it was 3.5 points. Michael Adams was leading with 3.5 points, and everyone was behind him with 3 points. We're only, not barely halfway through the tournament. And Hans Niemann is in second, and is tied for second with 3 points with Gukesh and all that. And anything can happen in that tournament if they
Yeah.
actually start playing chess.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's very conservative play is going to happen. Longer time controls. I mean, people, they've got real stuff on the line. I mean, it will be interesting to see who comes out of that. Michael Adams would be a very wild cardish person. They're a very good GM from Britain, but
His
I
days,
mean,
unfortunately, have gone as well. But I don't think of him as a bitter old grandmaster. Thankfully, he keeps to
no,
himself. He may say something
he's
over
still
a
very
pint,
strong.
but
Still extremely
very
strong.
strong.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
And the
really
old
strong.
bard.
Yeah,
The
well
old
aged.
bard.
Yeah. So I mean, can we say with a little bit of certainty, barring unexpected stuff? I mean, that's like anything, barring unexpected stuff. Do you think we will be seeing Caruana this time? As
Absolutely.
facing danger.
I would like to believe that. The only thing that I would, and we can even seg this into the Hikaru Nakamura and the mindset drills that we
Hikaru
were
try?
referring to. But Hikaru's in as well, yes.
Oh right. I mean, he actually did reasonably well last time. That's going to be interesting to see. Will be interesting to
So
see.
for
Because
the most part, if Hikaru, the only person that could ever challenge Hikaru mindset wise, who did not act like a deer in headlights when they were playing him, and that was another factor you'd referred to in your statistical outlier possibilities. Like when you
yeah,
play a person, you think you're going to lose to them right when you see the pairing, and every grandmaster in the world has this, oh, I've got to play Hikaru type thing. When you're playing a blitz game, it's
yeah.
like, this is not where you are the most confident person in the world. The only person that was ever immune to that was Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen would just roll up and go, all right, let's take care of this
I
guy
don't
before he
know.
thinks he knows how to play chess.
I don't know. I think that I mean I won't deny that there's possibly something there for the best grandmasters in the world. But I think Hikaru is pretty normal in the I mean pretty normal when when he's against the best in the world. There might be something there, but I think that's not so much a factor when you got Anish Giri, who's got the ability to draw essentially,
Anyone in the
and
world.
yeah, anyone in the world. Like the guy's good at getting consistent results. And then we've got a bunch of
Yeah,
other
but
grandmasters who played him plenty of times. I mean, if you play him plenty of times and you're getting decent as in average results against him, it's hard to fear someone who you're just gonna you get a lot of average results against. You can say, oh, I might lose this, but then I've won some too. So
that's
I mean, I
correct.
don't know.
And I would
I don't
think
know.
that
We
Hikaru's
did write
mindset
about them.
and his courage are much greater than Caruana's. Caruana's like a very normal, nice fellow. He's got a certain realistic attitude toward his approach to the game. And
That we
he's
know
very
of.
objective in knowing his chances, his practical chances in any particular position.
Yeah.
And he, unfortunately, I think, at whatever moment, may or may not have the same wherewithal that Hikaru has when it comes to, steeling himself up in the last so many rounds, as he and others have had to face Magnus in various events. You just know your licking's coming.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was the main thing that Magnus did when he beat Vincent Kamer in the World Cup. Vincent Kamer had Magnus on the ropes. He had him on the mat. The referee was counting him out. And Magnus said, I'm not done yet. I'm getting up off this mat and I'm going to kick this guy's butt.
Yeah.
And that was the end of it for the most part. And when people play people, they just assume a certain result. And it does happen a little bit in the player's mindset based on their previous experiences over the board.
A lot less than your average IM, though, I'm guessing. Like when you're facing Hikaru as an average IM, it's over. But as the best in the world, I mean, I think it slips from a noticeable psychological advantage. So,
I would like to believe that they're immune. Yeah,
I mean, more immune. I mean, and probably some people who aren't as immune, but there's probably some people who are way more immune. Like people have got
that immunity when they were playing Magnus Carlsen, though.
Oh yeah, definitely. He just wins in tie breaks. I mean, it's
if the guy gets you to tie breaks, he's throwing you down.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be a shit thing to feel? It's like, okay, so I've got to beat him, not go to tie breaks. I'm gonna have to beat him, not go to tie breaks. Because if I go to tie breaks, there's a good chance. There's an amazing chance that I'm going to become an unpopular statistic.
Indeed.
But seeing as we counted out Hikaru, we did a bad thing here, John. We counted out Hikaru and as the ultimate underdog. So the ultimate dark horse. So who do you think outside of Caruana is the person that could upset my apple cart, our apple cart? That is Caruana getting and facing Ding.
Well, obviously Hikaru does have an excellent chance. His style is very volatile, though, unlike Caruana's. So I still would like to believe that, Caruana has been the tried and true, steady turtle in the race, slow and steady will win the race type guy. And he's got the experience of having been in many candidates tournaments.
Yeah, and the biggest here in the world is not there.
This is Hikaru's first candidates tournament, so he may have a bit of preparation to do, and he has, in his own words, some preparation before.
He's been in the candidates. He is.
Never been in the candidates tournament.
He was in there last time.
No, he didn't make it. Oh, you're right. Oh, sorry. You're absolutely correct. I apologize. He did have that experience. I forgot his great and famous statement that had he been able to be the challenger ahead of Nepo,
Magnus wouldn't have bowed out.
That Magnus wouldn't have bowed out, and he was so full of himself on that one. I do believe that Magnus might not have bowed out because he wouldn't have been facing Nepo again in the Russian / political situation with Ukraine that had just transpired. That was like the last straw for me.
I do believe he was full of himself, but only ever so slightly. Like I think there's a slight chance that Magnus is that conceited that he dislikes Hikaru that much, and he thinks that an opponent change affects the fact that he hates the World Championship cycle that much. So there's two, but to think that Magnus would do it for only one of those two reasons, and
I think he might have done it for almost anybody. Like he said, he would play Firouzja if Firouzja were the champion. But I think he was more or less inferring that.
Oh my God!
If he played anybody,
how many underdogs?
No, he never. No, he didn't quite.
Okay, that's good. I wonder why.
But in general,
that's another discussion right there. I think.
Magnus had mentioned that right after the previous World Championship, right after he disposed of Nepo by at least 3 points in that World Championship match in Dubai. He basically said he didn't plan on reclaiming his title unless his challenger was Firouzja, as though he could name his challenger.
That just goes to his motivation, which I don't blame him for losing a little bit. Like, of course you're going to lose your motivation if everything's that boring. That you've been an advocate for change for the world championship forever, and it's not happening. You're getting the same opponent. You're beating the same opponent. You've proved everything to yourself and others. You've got all the money in the world. You've got other interests now. There's literally zero reason to go back, and all the reasons to do something else for a while. It seems very clear. It doesn't matter what reason you pick. There's good reasons everywhere.
Yeah. Plus, Magnus found so many more outlets in life to enjoy life. He could still enjoy playing chess. He could still show up when he wanted to and play in a tournament and win the World Cup, even though he's not necessarily taken so seriously as he was when he was world champion. But, and he's had some rather less than stellar performances post his world championship reign, but he performed in the World Cup and made it clear that he wasn't going to be a participant in the candidates. Even if he took the candidates qualification spot, he basically deferred it to others in the same tournament as a result of it. And just like if someone were already qualified for the candidates tournament like Nepo is in the World Cup, his spot would go to the next person as well in the World Cup. So I would like to. I can't wait for it. I do plan on going to Toronto to visit the candidates tournament. So that's.
I mean, it's close by, It is.
It's a 6 to 8 hour drive, depending on traffic.
Nothing. It's America.
Nothing.
Gas is cheap.
And of course, they're all inexpensive flights because it's not that far.
And it's Canada. Who wants to go to Canada?
I am playing in the Reykjavik Open. I am registered. I noticed they're up to 110 people roughly have registered, and there are quite a number of grandmasters, including Aribon.
When's this?
Playing in Reykjavik on March 15th. I'll be in Reykjavik through the 21st. The new Reykjavik Open 2024.
When do they take registrations? When's the last time?
The registrations are open on Reykjavik Open, I think, .com, and basically you can go to the results page and see who's registered. They're only going to cap it at 400. They have only space for 400 players, so the players, whoever registers, and whoever doesn't. And right now I'm campaigning to take our newest international master with one Grandmaster Norm from our school, Brewington Hardaway. I'm hoping that I can convince him to go with me because it's during our school spring break, which has never happened. I have always told my co-teacher, International Arbiter Sophia Rode, that should this tournament ever take place during our spring break, I'm going to go. And it has never happened. It's always been where I would have to take 6 or 7 days away from school, and I can't get replacements for teaching my classes for a full week, or put the hardship on her because I know she would want to go as well. So when I was visiting Reykjavik at the end of October, I basically took one look and I said, hey, wait a minute now. It starts March 15th, the Friday of our start of spring break schools in New York City. And I tried to talk some other students that I have here in New York City to it, but the public schools versus the private school break is different. The public schools get 1 week in February and 1 week in April, versus the private schools getting 2 weeks in the 2 weeks leading up to Easter at the beginning of April. So private schools get 2 weeks in a row, which makes it possible for me to go to the Reykjavik Open.
Right.
Public schools get only 1 week randomly throughout the year.
Yeah, John, I was like, oh mate, I was thinking like feasibly. I was like, I mean, there's a few months there, I might be able to do stuff. Then I looked at that. I went to the site to look for like what the flight cost would be for a round trip. It's $2,993. That's wow.
Well, I think that you need to start the streamathon for Reykjavik. No, I'm serious, Rogan. I was very impressed for the last 4 to 5 days. AK Nemsko has had a nonstop round-the-clock streamathon where she has raised an incredible amount of money because, as I learned, I think it was last Friday or so, the death of her car in an accident, and she is unharmed, thankfully.
Jokes write themselves there.
Yeah, she called it Karsko. Nemsko lost Karsko, and she had a streamathon. And she did nonstop fundraising for 4.5 to 5 days to raise money to replace her car. And
I was
obviously,
gonna
I
go with
know
some
for a
other
fact that
jokes, man.
the insurance is going to cover it, but the
Yeah,
insurance doesn't necessarily always cover
you got to pay
the
out of pocket a little
difference
bit.
for a better car
Yeah, right.
for the prices as they are now.
Yeah.
So I lost two cars last year. I actually lost two cars,
Damn.
and the insurance paid me like $19,000 on an old Pathfinder that I never expected to see. Like, it was an insane amount of money for a 2015 Pathfinder. I was very thankful that they did because it was flood damage. We had a flood in the neighborhood. I
Yeah.
took steps to put the car up the driveway of a neighbor's thing, and it was, elevated by 3 or so feet. But
Yeah.
the 3 or so feet was not enough. And everyone in
Mm.
the neighborhood, in a several mile radius, everyone in the neighborhood was
Yeah.
searching for, guess what, cars. And it was nearly impossible to find an inexpensive car that was used or anything like that. The used cars were going at the same prices as the new car. So I ended up getting two new cars, as my daughter's car had to be replaced as well. She had a much lower
Oh,
to the
damn.
ground car, and the insurance came through on that one. And it was pretty much enough to cover it.
I mean, I think it's the one time
So it was
you
good.
start thinking American insurance. Hey, but John, the keen observers will
But you
notice
should hold
something.
a streamathon, though, Rogan.
Yeah,
You
night
should the
people.
international tournament streamathon where you get a chance to have your passport, updated.
Oh no, my passport's fine. My passport's fine. It's good for a very long time. As a New Zealander, you can basically just, well, not only does it last a very long time, the passport, but it's quite.
Yeah, I think I
Yeah.
have to renew mine every 6 years.
Oh, wow, I think mine's like 8 or 9, maybe. It's pretty.
Yeah, but it's
I
very
mean,
annoying because I think the one time I was going to travel around 2015, I was within a year of my passport expiring. So if you're within a year of your passport expiring and you plan to travel, they want you to renew it before you travel in those months before it expires.
right.
You can't like leave the country, accidentally not come back on a passport that's expired, and that's how they got Fisher, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. As a chess player, I'd be getting nervous. They got another one of us. But yeah, that is something to that is something to think about. I'll see, and maybe I'll put in the hours. Anyway,
I'm also,
we'll figure it out.
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, let's But there is other news stories, despite my ability to segue off into stuff like that. Oh yeah. So anyway, Fabiano Caruana, he won $100,000 bonus in the Singfield Cup, or the 2023 edition of this Singfield Cup, just to be a little more accurate. And okay, oh shit, this thing's
And he
playing.
rejoined the 2800 club in rating.
He did. I did. That's a good sign. That's why that's what really set off our conversation about his form and who we think's going to win there. So it wasn't just unrelated talking. We did have a reason for it, a little bit. Okay, but in the cap off the story, Esports reports to cap off the year, the American participated in the final events of the annual Grand Chess Tour, a prestigious private set of invitational tournaments featuring many members of the chess elite, and then he winning both across the faster and slower time controls. Okay. He went undefeated in a super strong field and locked in an undisputed first place in the first final round of play with an impressive win over the struggling Richard Report and what turned out to be the only decisive game of the day. So essentially, he's playing very, very well, and it's going into candidate season, and he's been playing very well before. There's no reason to suspect that his form will just disappear.
No, I would like to believe that he has the consistency, and this only serves to bolster his confidence and his mindset toward future events.
Yeah.
There's no reason for him to ever doubt himself, as you pointed out, when anyone plays Hikaru. So therefore, I know that he is more or less immune to the Nakamura effect, basically, which I would equate. I do believe that when you play someone, it's also the same case, basically, in the tie breaks. If you had to play Hikaru in tie breaks and blitz, right, and the guy wins 45 and a half out of 46,
Yeah.
and blitz against the best players in the world, you know you might be in trouble should it come to tie breaks with Hikaru.
I mean, yeah, I would assume so too, but you never know. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to pretend to. I mean, that's our whole job here, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Is to pretend to believe that we know what we're doing.
yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, John, I mean, what is the most interesting point of the day? What do you want to talk about here? Because I think we're out of real news stories unless I have missed an article somewhere.
No, I mean, we can try to do a recap of anything we missed at a later date and touch upon it. But honestly, the main factor that people should never count out is having a good mindset when you are playing. At any point in the game, you can actually kick your own tuchus back into gear with a good mindset toward achieving a result. Even this week, in a couple of games where I lost a piece in the opening to a player I have no right coming back against, I basically kicked it into gear, kept the right pieces on the board, created the right circumstances around the opponent's king, overworked my opponent's pieces, got my piece back for a dead equal endgame. And there's no way that I'm going to win this endgame. So I'm so happy in a way in the back of my mind that I have the half point almost in the pocket that I keep playing energetically and with a good sense of optimism toward a positive result that I end up winning the game. And other things also happen. I remember I'm playing my regular nemesis, Pillsbury, whom I win 1-10 against. And in our daily workout Swiss events, Ronald Heidenforth from Sweden apparently cleans Pillsbury's clock. I always wanted to study Ron's games against Pillsbury because Ron has no problem beating Pillsbury, yet I lose routinely and frequently. So once again, this week, I am getting my tuchus handed to me, but I refuse to resign. I refuse to give up. And for some strange reason, in our mutual time trouble, I managed to kick my mindset in gear. All right, I've made it this far, and his pieces don't seem to be completely coordinated. And I kicked it into gear, and I actually managed to improve my score to only being down like 1-5.5 rather than 1-9. So I'm winning now. So by winning another game, I increased my statistical odds. But of course, this is a player that always had my number. And if I can consistently, with my positive mindset throughout the course of encountering him, keep improving my score, I will succeed. And the same thing had occurred to Nakamura. I think there was a time when Nakamura was Carlsen's customer to a great extent. Like Nakamura was always getting beaten in the early days, in the early 2010s by Magnus Carlsen. There was a game where Magnus was down, according to the engine, at least 14 points, which is far beyond decisive. And Nakamura managed to get outplayed and flubbed it against Magnus, and Magnus won that game yet again. But over time, Magnus made these inroads with his mindset into being able to beat Magnus Carlsen to the point where most recently, I think, in a couple of speed chess challenges, Magnus Carlsen has actually succumbed to Hikaru in speed chess challenges, most recently, maybe even twice. I don't know that it actually happened twice because I'm not going to see the statistics in front of me, but it was all basically Hikaru's mindset, fighting nature, courage, optimism, and overall skill level that he can bring it to the table in a manner that would irk the great Vladimir Kramnik at any given moment. So obviously, I would hope that everyone out there keeps a good mindset going into every game. In fact, the other day, I think I played someone, I was playing in an arena, and they were rated lower than me, and they didn't bother to make a move. Like I believe they chimed in saying, I didn't have any chance against you, so I chose not to play the game. And I'm like, that's definitely not the right mindset. All he had to do is set up the pieces, start the game, and watch me fall on my face in a rare moment. You got to show up if you want to win.
I'm trying, John, but whenever you just don't seem to slip up when you're facing me. When you're facing someone else, it just.
I respect you a lot, Rogan. Actually, you have gotten me in the past when I did not respect you. You have to
Yeah.
respect your opponent.
Can you
You have
stop
to respect
respecting me now?
and you have to respect the ideas. And if you do respect everything about your opponent's ideas and the game itself and give it the consideration it deserves, you should accomplish whatever you hope to accomplish. One way
You
or the
smashed
other.
me in the King's Indian. It's not even fair. I hate playing the King's Indian. I don't know anything else now. Very sad.
Well,
like,
you could be playing a better opening.
I could be. Come on, it's just, the temporary pain of losing to you is not enough to get me to learn a new opening, John. It's just not enough.
Well, I'll mention that there are a few openings out there for developing players that I don't necessarily recommend on the get-go. Basically, if we look upon the Sicilian and its popularity, basically the Sicilian is an opening that doesn't necessarily put you on such equal footing, but it creates these imbalances of equality where
Makes Jeremy
you have
Silman
something
happy.
for something that is the same but different. What's that?
Makes Jeremy Silman happy. Or
Yes.
his heavenly body happy.
Yes.
Anyway.
And basically, so to finish the story, basically as an up and coming player, you don't want your opponent to draw with you. I remember one tournament I needed to win with the black pieces against a player who was a half a point ahead of me. It was the National Chess Congress of many years ago. I am unfortunately only in line for second place money in the overall Continental Chess Association event if I don't beat him with the black pieces. So I chose the Tarrasch, and I think that this is a great choice, but I should have chosen the King's Indian. The King's Indian, the Benoni has been the choice of Ivanchuk and occasionally Carlsen. You have to choose these cutthroat openings, and I consider the King's Indian one of those openings where you start off at a disadvantage and you force your opponent to actually do something to maintain their position toward you. But if I play a queen's pawn opening where it's d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, c5, my opponent just plays e3, dulls the game down to a very difficult to achieve play. And he already sinks my mindset with the move e3 a little bit. And I'm like, And the same thing can occur even in, as many London players do against the Benoni. They don't push their pawn to d5. They usually play e3 and just try to play on the first four ranks with their pawns. They don't bother to go to the fifth rank with their pawn and grab a space advantage. But there are a set of openings like the Sicilian that force the opponents to come at you to try to make them beat you. And that's what you want at the higher levels. So I was just getting back to our story with the King's Indian and certain openings. You don't necessarily want to be the slightly lower rated player. And I say that with all due respect, the slightly lower rated player playing a better player. Or a slightly more experienced player and being in a position where you're burning some bridges with the opening. It's almost better to say, I'll tell you what, when I became a master in late 1989, I basically played for absolute equal chances against every strong player. And I had a nice winning record against everybody who was 100 to 150 points above me. Because I was not afraid to draw. Now, they were the ones that had to take chances. They were the ones that had to liven up the game. So they were the ones that had to play risky chess and give me a shot at beating them, and then I beat them. But the players that were my level, right, if they were within the rating of me, and I play that same equal chess, guess what they did? They drew with me.
I'll take it.
God dang it.
You're not supposed to do that.
But the higher rated player, if I play for equality, absolute steady Eddie chess, and this is the secret to the London, by the way, the London maintains a absolute stability against the stronger player. And because the stronger player is the higher rated, they have to actually take risks to beat you. And because they take risks to beat you, that gives you the opportunity from a steady and solid position. But then there are the openings that I don't recommend, like the Benoni, where you're at a slight disadvantage and you're forcing your opponent to attack you. And if that person is equally more skilled, higher rated, and whatnot, and you're playing the King's Indian or the Benoni, you might be asking for it.
Yeah, I mean, here's just something funny and some housekeeping before I think we leave. To get to Reykjavik from Auckland Airport, which is already like a 4-hour endeavor. I have to go to American Airlines for 13 hours to Dallas, and then with a 2-hour, 35-minute layover, and then to Dallas, and then probably again to Dallas. It looks like. Hang on, no, just Dallas, and then to Washington D.C., and then Atlanta, which I don't know how this makes sense. Then
yeah, I can see the way you're going.
Atlanta.
You're coming across California to Dallas, so you're flying across the United States to get to Reykjavik from New Zealand.
Might as well just stop in America.
They don't want you to be in Asia or crossing the Ukraine airstrike area.
Come on, make peace already. I want my cheap airlines, damn it. I want to take that. I want to take that something that may or may not be, some weird airline like a China XV Airlines, and then that'll go missing.
I believe that you should be able to find something at the right time, because it's not a natural tourist time. My ticket to Reykjavik was about $650 round trip.
Well, I mean, you're already in the United States,
and I'm already. Yeah, I'm only across the pond from it.
Yeah, big old jump. I'm a hop, skip, a nice marathon, 4-hour layovers everywhere. It's
several different flights away.
Like, I mean, there's hang on, I'll look at the cumulative time. The cumulative
time. That
is
a good point, by the way. You should actually look for flights to cheaper destinations and spend a day somewhere in an inexpensive Airbnb, and then get a good rest with melatonin, and then continue your journey on the next leg of the flight. So you might be able to find a flight to Los Angeles very inexpensively, and then you might be able to find a flight from Los Angeles toward Reykjavik very inexpensively, because then you'll have a whole wealth of new airlines to choose from, rather than flying an airline that must originate in Auckland.
Yeah. I mean,
so if you found a flight that left you in Los Angeles or San Francisco, you would be able to thereby find a cheaper flight in the United States.
Come on, John. In Los Angeles, come on. I don't want to get stabbed, man. I like my kidney.
That's why I suggested San Francisco. You might have a slightly better chance in San Francisco.
Yeah. San Francisco.
Provided you stay out of Compton or Oakland. In either case, whether you go to Los Angeles or San Francisco, and then basically you'll have a wealth of more flights. And of course, if you're able to stay here in New York, I have fixed the heating in the basement for the guest room.
Oh, thank you.
You're good to go for a day or two, at least, as we head on the merry way. I leave on the 14th.
All right, John. I'm good at acting crazy. I'll just find a nice shop front to loiter outside of.
Oh, you could definitely come to New York for my birthday, March 14th. I turned 39, and we can celebrate.
39, eh?
Continue on again.
Damn.
Yes.
I mean, is there any places that take illegal workers?
Oh, plenty in New York. Plenty in New York. We are the land of woke immigrants.
There we go. Woo. Yeah.
Until we elect any convicts or felons, I think you're pretty safe to be able to enter the country until 2025.
Okay. Me and Donald get on. Don't worry. Okay. There we go. This is Iceland.
Meanwhile, it's been a pleasure, Rogan. It has been a pleasure. I'm glad we got it started again. This time frame could easily work for me in lieu of my morning stream. Because I know it's still relatively early for you. It's getting closer to midnight for you, I think.
Oh, yeah. That's all right.
But obviously, I'm up and ready to go at 3/4 o'clock in the morning as usual.
Okay. So, John MacArthur streams at Master Chess Dojo. All caps on all the words. Caps, capital letters on all the start of all the words on Twitch. He's also Master Chess Dojo on YouTube. I am KingSlayerSloan on YouTube, Kick, Twitch. Anything else? Probably soon.
I did start streaming on Twitter per your request. I stream as Master Chess Dojo on Twitter as well, or /X.
Yeah, or formerly known as Twitter. It sounds a little bit.
Known, the social media platform formerly known as Twitter.
I was formerly known as Prince. Yeah.
Prince
seems a little weird, doesn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Until next time, we will try to. This is the second season of our podcast, and I'm hoping that later today I might be able to line up some guests for us. Hopefully, among the Grandmaster Elite, we'll see what happens. As what might be.
We'll see. I mean, I'd rather you interview them because me interviewing them would just. I think. I mean, you know.
It's nothing without the two of us, sir.
I mean,
you have the humor. I'm a little too straight.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you know, it's.
I'm Lou to your. I'm Abbott to your Lou, sir.
Yeah, I mean,
Costello department.
We'll just copy Ben Johnson. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being straight all the way, you know.
Well, I don't know. It's not politically correct to be straight all the way anymore.
Oh, okay, John. Surprised me there. Okay, he's coming up with new angles all the time. So thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to support the stream, well, you know, just. I mean, you can go and do a lot of things anywhere and anywhere. You can find us, not hard. But if you want to buy a chess.com membership, you can use my code. I mean, that's cool. I mean, I haven't got a specific code. You kind of have to find it. It's actually more trouble than it's worth.
It'll be attached. It'll be attached in the show description.
Oh, I mean, will there, John? Well, some poor schmuck's gonna have to put that there, you know.
Some poor schmuck will find its way into the show description. Yes,
I'm sure he will. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, goodbye and have a great day. Okay.